The sun burned bright above the whispering expanse, a desert so wide that even satellites could not map its borders. From far above, it looked like a golden sea, always shifting and hiding its secrets beneath waves of sand. It was a place where compasses spun without direction and storms appeared without warning. Mara stood on the deck of her hover transport, her eyes narrowed behind dust goggles. She was a calm woman with strong shoulders and a steady mind. The desert wind pushed her short hair back as she studied the endless dunes through her scanner. The signal they were chasing had appeared only once, a strange pulse that came from beneath the ground, too deep to be natural, too organized to be random. Behind her, Ben worked under the transport's control panel, his hands covered with sand and machine grease. Still no response from the scanners, he muttered. Whatever's down there doesn't want to be found. Mara didn't answer right away. She was thinking about the signal, that single moment of rhythm that sounded like a heartbeat under the earth. It had lasted for only 3 seconds, yet it had drawn the attention of Earth's Exploration Council. Many teams had tried to reach the whispering expanse before, but most had returned empty-handed, claiming the storms erased all paths. Still, Mara and her crew had come. Inside the cabin, Leah, the team's linguist, studied the data patterns from the last transmission. The signal wasn't just sound, she said softly. It had structure, like a message written in vibration. Ryan, the geologist, turned from the window. Maybe it's just pressure movement or underground water shifting. Leah shook her head. No, water doesn't repeat in perfect rhythm. This was too clean. Tav, their pilot, laughed lightly as he adjusted the transport's steering handles. Clean or not, I just hope it's not another ghost reading. I'm tired of chasing things that disappear. Mara smiled faintly. This one won't disappear, not if we move before the next storm hits. They traveled through the dunes for 2 more hours, guided by faint energy readings. The sun began to sink behind the horizon, turning the sand a deep orange. The air grew colder. Dust swirled around their hovercraft, whispering softly as if the desert itself was speaking. Suddenly, the control lights blinked red. Tav frowned. Power drop in engine 2. Ben jumped to the panel. Sands clogging the intake. We'll have to land and clean it. Mara nodded. Do it fast. Storm's coming. They landed on a wide, flat dune. Ben opened the back hatch, pulling out tools while the wind started to rise. The sound of the desert grew louder, a low, deep hum that didn't belong to the wind. Ryan lifted a small sensor rod and placed it in the sand. His eyes widened. Captain. The signal's back, Leah ran over. Where? Ryan pointed at the screen. Right below us, the ground shivered. A faint tremor ran through their boots. Then, in the distance, a line of dark clouds began to rise. Not from the sky, but from the ground itself. A sandstorm was forming, huge and fast, circling around them like a living wall. Tav shouted, We need to lift off now. But before anyone could move, the ground beneath them sank. The transport tilted, half buried in a rush of falling sand. Mara grabbed the side rail and yelled, Hold on. The world became a storm of gold and red. Wind screamed through their ears. Sand whipped across their faces like sharp rain. The transport alarms howled, lights flickering wildly. The crew couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. Mara crawled toward the control console and hit the emergency stabilizers. The vehicle groaned but stopped sinking. Then, through the chaos, something caught her eye, a strange blue glow beneath the sand. Mara. Ben shouted over the noise. We have to seal the cabin. But she wasn't listening. She leaned closer to the window. The glow pulsed again, steady and slow, like the same rhythm from the signal. She grabbed a light and shouted, Ben! Ryan, with me! They pushed open the side hatch. The storm hit them full force, tearing at their clothes. They lowered their faces and crawled forward through the blowing sand. Every step felt like walking through a river. After a few meters, they saw it. A smooth metallic surface buried under the sand, glowing faintly blue. The light seemed to move, running across patterns carved into the surface. It looked like a door or maybe a gate. What is this? Ryan yelled. Ben knelt and brushed the sand away. Metal, but not from any alloy I know. It's alive with energy. Mara touched the surface and the light reacted, brightening under her hand. A low tone echoed from beneath their feet, deep and ancient, as if something inside the earth had awakened. Leah's voice came through the comms, crackling. Captain, The storm's getting worse. You have less than 3 minutes before it hits full power. Mara hesitated only a second. Ben, help me open it. Ben looked around helplessly. Open it? With what? Before he could finish, the ground beneath the glowing gate shifted. A circle of light formed around them, and the sand suddenly dropped like a drain opening. The three of them fell through, sliding down a tunnel of light. The sandstorm above roared louder, covering all traces of their fall. Mara hit the ground hard, but rolled to her feet. The others landed beside her. They found themselves in a vast chamber lit by soft blue lines that ran across every wall. The air was cool and smelled faintly of ozone. Ben stood up, brushing sand off his clothes. Where are we? Ryan looked around, his voice shaking with awe. We're under the desert, maybe hundreds of meters down. Mara shone her light across the room, but the walls themselves glowed faintly. Strange geometric patterns moved slowly across them, like they were alive. Leah's voice crackled again in their earpieces, faint and full of static. Captain, we lost your signal, Storm. Can't. Then silence. Mara tapped her comms. Leah, Tav, do you copy? No answer. They were alone. Ben walked toward one of the walls and pressed his hand against it. The surface rippled like water. It's not metal, he whispered. It's something else. Something built to move. The chamber began to hum softly. A beam of light scanned across them from above, pausing on each face as if studying them. Then it faded and the walls dimmed. Rian knelt to study the floor. Captain, look. These symbols, they're repeating in a pattern. Some kind of code. Mara moved closer. Can you read it? He shook his head. No, but it feels familiar. Mara stared at the writing, and for a moment she could swear the symbols shifted into shapes she recognized. Curves like letters, lines like words. But before she could speak, the floor beneath them vibrated again, and a voice, and not in sound but in thought, whispered inside their minds. Welcome back. Ben froze. Did you hear that? Mara looked around. Yes, Rian's face turned pale. What does it mean? Back? The light pulsed again, faster this time, and a doorway opened on the far wall. Beyond it, a narrow corridor glowed faint blue. Mara took a deep breath. We move together. No one stays behind. They stepped through the doorway, their footsteps echoing softly in the vast, empty silence. Behind them, the chamber's entrance sealed shut, the metal folding like a living thing. Far above, the sandstorm swallowed the desert whole. By the time the winds calmed, the land had changed completely. The transport was buried, the signal gone, and the place where the gate once glowed was now just endless sand. The chamber beneath the sandstorm had been found once, and it would never be found again. The blue corridor stretched endlessly, glowing like frozen lightning trapped in stone. The air was still and cool, and the soft hum of energy filled every corner. Mara, Ben, and Rian moved slowly, their boots tapping softly on the smooth floor. Their voices echoed faintly, bouncing back like whispers. Ben kept glancing at the walls. It feels like the place is watching us, he said quietly. Ryan nodded. Maybe it is. Everything here seems alive. Mara walked ahead with her scanner raised. The readings on her screen were strange. Power levels too high for anything buried under so much sand. Keep close, she said firmly. We don't know what this place can do. They followed the corridor until it opened into a massive hall. The ceiling was so high that it disappeared into darkness. Pillars of light lined both sides, each covered in patterns that shifted slowly, as if the walls were breathing. In the center of the hall stood a circular platform, raised slightly above the floor. It shone with soft white light, and around it were markings that looked like a mix of symbols and numbers. Ben whistled softly. Now this is not natural. Ryan moved closer and touched one of the pillars. The material is smooth like glass, but it's warm. Mara knelt beside the platform, brushing off dust. This could be some kind of control station, she said. Or maybe a power source. Before they could study further, the doorway behind them closed with a soft hiss. They turned quickly. The wall had sealed itself completely, leaving no trace of the passage. Ben frowned. Great, trapped again. Mara kept her voice calm. We'll find another way out. Stay focused. They decided to explore the hall. Every step echoed strangely, as if the chamber was listening. The sound of their boots would repeat a second later, slightly delayed, almost like another set of footsteps following them. Ryan noticed it first.
Captain.
Do you hear that? Mara stopped. The echo came again, one step too late, one breath too slow. She turned her light behind them. Nothing, just empty space. Keep moving, she said quickly, though her heart was racing. They reached the far end of the hall and found a tall wall covered in moving symbols. Some of them glowed brighter when they approached. Leah would have understood them better, but Leah wasn't there. Still, Mara tried to record them on her visor. Ben touched one of the glowing marks. Instantly, the room filled with light. The floor trembled, and the symbols started moving faster, forming shapes in the air, shapes that looked like stars, planets, and giant structures floating in space. The three of them stepped back in awe. It's a map, Rion said softly. Mara looked closer. The stars rearranged into different positions, showing galaxies collapsing, then forming again. A map of time? She whispered. Then a voice, not through the air but inside their minds, spoke again. We remember. We record, we wait. The light faded slightly and one of the walls shifted. A doorway appeared, revealing another corridor beyond. Ben sighed. That's an invitation if I ever saw one. Mara nodded. Let's see where it leads. The next corridor was narrower and darker. The glowing lines along the walls were dim and a faint mist hung in the air. Strange whispers echoed softly. Not words, but sounds like faraway memories. Ryan stopped suddenly. Captain, look, he pointed at the wall. There were handprints pressed into it, small, human-like hands. The marks were old, yet the edges glowed faintly. Ben ran his fingers over them. Humans? No way. This place must be millions of years old. Ryan's voice trembled. Then how? How could these be here? Mara stared at the prints, feeling a chill run through her. The shapes were clear. 5 fingers, perfect human form. Maybe we weren't the first to come here, she said slowly. Maybe someone else found it long ago. As they moved on, they saw more marks. Handprints, footprints, and strange carvings that looked like faces. It was as if generations of explorers had passed through this place, leaving behind faint traces that refused to fade. The corridor ended in another chamber, smaller but filled with strange devices. Transparent columns rose from the floor, each filled with floating blue light. When Ben moved closer, one of them flashed, showing images, ships flying through the stars, cities made of crystal, and beings made of light walking among them. The images flickered faster, almost like memories replaying at high speed. Then they changed, showing fire, destruction, and silence. Ryan whispered, It's showing. The end of something. Ben frowned. Maybe it's recording history. Mara studied one of the glowing columns. If this place records history, maybe it holds knowledge of those who built it. She placed her hand on the column. The light brightened and her mind filled with flashes, not images but feelings, sorrow, hope, and waiting. She gasped and pulled her hand back. Ben grabbed her shoulder. Captain? You okay? Mara nodded slowly. It showed me something. Or maybe it felt me. The chamber pulsed once like a heartbeat. Then, from the far side, a section of the floor slid open, revealing stairs leading down. Ryan stared. This place just keeps getting bigger. Mara steadied herself. Let's see what it wants to show us next. They descended the stairs carefully. The air grew colder and a low humming sound vibrated through the ground. The steps led them into a circular room filled with mirrors, or at least surfaces that looked like mirrors. When they entered, the reflections changed. Instead of showing their current images, the mirrors displayed scenes, each of them standing in different places, older, or in battle, or surrounded by stars. Ben blinked. Are those us? Rion shook his head slowly. Or versions of us. Mara looked at her reflection. In the mirror, she saw herself standing on a mountain of sand, holding something glowing in her hand while the desert burned with blue fire. Then the image vanished. A deep voice filled the room again, calm and echoing through their minds. Those who enter must see what they carry within. Ben looked around nervously. I don't like that. The light around them dimmed and the mirrors turned black. Only one remained glowing, showing an image of a huge circular structure buried under sand, the very place they stood in now. Around it were dozens of smaller chambers, all connected like veins to a single core. Ryan pointed. That's the chamber we're in. But look, there are others. Far deeper, Mara nodded. A network. Maybe this was once a city. The glowing mirror shifted again, showing symbols that slowly rearranged into readable text. Leah's training helped Mara understand the pattern. The message said, "The ones who wait beneath. Keepers of memory. Builders of continuity." She read it aloud softly. The words echoed through the chamber like a prayer. Ben whispered, "Keepers of memory. That's what this place is," Rion frowned. "Then why is it still working after all this time?" Mara looked around. Because maybe it never stopped waiting. As they turned to leave, the door behind them closed with a deep tone. The floor trembled again and beams of blue light rose from the center of the room, surrounding them. Ben raised his arms. "What now?" The light focused into a single beam above them, forming a symbol that looked like an eye made of stars. The voice returned, stronger this time. "Recognition complete. Access granted. You are of the Makers. You are the continuation." The chamber filled with a warm glow. For a moment, all three stood still, stunned by the meaning of the words. Ryan stammered. "Continuation? Of what?" Mara whispered. "Maybe. Of them." The lights dimmed and another doorway opened ahead, this time leading downward into complete darkness. Ben sighed. "Why is it always down?" Mara gave a small smile. "Because that's where the answers always hide." They stepped into the darkness together, unaware that the chamber above was already closing itself, sealing away the light. Far above, the desert was quiet again. The sandstorm had passed, leaving only smooth dunes under the night sky. No sign of the gate remained. No trace of their transport. The wind blew softly across the dunes, carrying a faint sound, not the whistle of air, but the distant echo of a heartbeat beneath the sand. The chamber waited once more, its ancient systems alive and aware. Deep below, Mara and her crew walked further into the unknown, their light swallowed by the dark, following the path that countless others had walked before, the path that could only be found once. The stairs went down much deeper than the team expected. Each step echoed softly, and the air grew colder as they descended. The glow from the upper chambers faded behind them, replaced by a dim red light pulsing from far below. It looked like the heartbeat of something sleeping. Mara led the way with her lamp raised. Behind her, Ben and Ryan followed silently. The metal walls around them curved inward, forming a tunnel that felt alive. The hum of energy continued to vibrate under their boots. Ben broke the silence. "Captain, how far down do you think we are?" "Too far to climb back up easily," Mara replied. "Keep moving. There has to be a reason this place keeps guiding us." They reached the bottom of the stairs, and the tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with strange machines. Huge circular rings floated in the air, slowly rotating, glowing with blue light. In the center stood a tall crystal pillar, its surface covered with lines of moving light like flowing rivers. Ryan's eyes widened. "It's a reactor, or something even older." Ben looked around in wonder. "No, this isn't just power. Look, every wall is filled with moving shapes." He was right. The walls showed shadows like images trapped inside them. Stars, planets, cities, people. They moved slowly, almost like dreams frozen in glass. Mara stepped closer. "It's showing memories." Ryan ran his scanner along the pillar. The device beeped with readings too high for the system to handle. "It's not just power. It's data. Captain, this thing is storing information. Billions of years old, maybe." Ben gave a low whistle. "So this is what the message meant. Keepers of memory. This whole place is a machine made to remember." Mara nodded slowly. "A memory machine." They moved carefully around the room, examining the floating rings. Each one hummed when they passed, responding faintly to their presence. When Mara reached out to touch one, a soft wave of light spread across its surface, and the whole chamber came alive. Beams of blue energy rose from the floor, filling the air with moving pictures. The three humans stood frozen, staring at the holograms around them. They saw galaxies forming, planets coming to life, oceans rising, creatures crawling from the deep. It was as if the machine was replaying the history of the universe, Ben whispered. "We're watching creation itself." The images changed. Great starships flying between worlds. Beings made of light, working with machines that moved mountains. These beings had no clear faces, only glowing forms of energy and shadow. They looked powerful, peaceful, and wise. Then came images of war, stars exploding, cities falling into dust, and light fading into darkness. Mara's voice was quiet. They destroyed themselves. Ryan swallowed hard. Maybe that's why they built this place, to save what they knew before it was all gone. As the images continued, something strange happened. The machine began to project new pictures, ones that showed humans. At first, the team thought they were imagining it. The shapes became clearer. Humans walking on Earth, building, fighting, growing, reaching space. They saw rockets rising, colonies forming, and ships crossing the void. Every detail was perfect, as if the machine had been watching them all along. Ben took a step back. How can it know about us? Mara stared at the glowing scenes. It shouldn't. This chamber is millions of years older than humanity. The hologram shifted again, showing a sequence of symbols and words that Leah would have understood if she were here. But Mara could still recognize a pattern, the same ones she saw earlier in the Hall of Mirrors. The symbols moved, arranging themselves into a readable message in the same glowing light. The ones who came before made you. You are their memory made flesh. For a moment, no one spoke. The words floated in the air like a quiet storm. Ryan finally said, "Are they saying, we're connected to them?" Ben frowned. That can't be. Humans evolved naturally on Earth. Maybe, Mara said softly. But maybe they helped. Maybe these beings were the reason we became what we are. The machine pulsed again, faster this time. The lights flickered and a deep tone filled the chamber. The walls started to shift, forming spirals of moving data. The entire room looked like it was preparing for something. Rian checked his scanner. "Captain, the energy levels are rising fast. It's like the system is waking up. Can we shut it down?" Mara asked. Ben shook his head. "Not without knowing how it works. If this thing is alive, it might not let us." The crystal pillar brightened and beams of light surrounded Mara. She froze as images flashed before her eyes, not just of the past, but of the future. She saw humans traveling to other galaxies, building new worlds and meeting other civilizations. She saw them standing as equals among the stars. Then she saw something darker, an image of the whispering expanse burning under a storm of fire, and the chamber collapsing into the ground. The voice returned, deeper and clearer than before. "Cycle end. Pattern reset." Ben ran to the pillar. "What does that mean?" Ryan answered, his voice shaking. "It's erasing itself. Every time it's found, it starts over. That's why the legend said it could never be found twice." The ground began to tremble. The walls dimmed and then flared with white light. Dust fell from the ceiling as the machine started its process. Mara shouted, "There has to be a way to stop it." Ben pulled open a side panel revealing streams of glowing symbols. "If I can connect my tablet, maybe I can copy part of the data before it wipes." He plugged in a cable and began typing quickly. The light from his screen mixed with the bright blue glow of the chamber. Lines of alien code ran across his display. 30% copied, he muttered. Come on, come on!" The floor split slightly, and a crack of energy flashed across the room. Rian steadied himself against a wall. "Captain, if this place collapses, we'll never make it out!" Mara turned toward the pillar. "No, we can't leave yet. If this chamber is about to destroy itself, we have to take something with us. Something to prove it was real." Ben nodded, his fingers moving faster. "Almost done." But before he could finish, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed everything. For a moment, there was silence. No hum, no light, nothing. Then slowly, the pillar began to glow again, this time softer and warmer. The tremors stopped. A calm voice filled the chamber again, speaking in thoughts rather than sound. Cycle reset delayed. New parameters detected. The holograms returned, showing Mara's face, then Ben's, then Ryan's. The machine was studying them. Human. Compatible. Pattern recognized. The light from the pillar split into 3 beams, each touching their foreheads gently. None of them moved. Their minds filled with visions, fragments of knowledge, strange stars, equations, and ancient songs. Then the voice spoke again. "Memory transfer in progress. You will carry what must remain." The light faded slowly. When Mara opened her eyes, she felt dizzy but calm. She could still see images flashing behind her eyelids. Alien landscapes, old battles, and symbols that almost made sense. Ben blinked several times. What? What just happened?" Ryan rubbed his temples. It felt like someone just placed a whole library in my head. Mara took a deep breath. It gave us something, information, memories. Maybe it's how they pass on knowledge when the cycle restarts. The machine dimmed again, returning to its quiet hum. Ben looked at his tablet. My recording. It's gone. The whole file wiped clean. Of course, Mara said softly. It doesn't want to be known through data. It wants to be remembered through us. A low rumble came from above. Dust fell from the ceiling again. The storm outside had returned, shaking the ground even at this depth. Ryan checked the map on his scanner. There's another exit below the main pillar. A maintenance shaft or something. Then that's our way out, Mara said. Ben hesitated. Captain, if this thing restarts, it'll erase everything. Maybe even close itself forever. Shouldn't we stay until we know what it's doing? Mara shook her head. If we stay, we'll be trapped like the others before us. Whatever it wanted to give, it already gave. They hurried to the lower tunnel. The air there was colder and filled with faint static. Behind them, the memory machine began to glow brighter again, as if charging for the final reset. When they looked back one last time, they saw the holograms fading and stars dimming, planets vanishing, and finally, only a single phrase remained in the air. Remember us. Then the light disappeared. They climbed down the narrow passage as the rumbling grew louder. When they reached the end, they found a small chamber filled with ancient tools and a sealed hatch. Ben managed to open it with his cutter. Cold night air rushed in. They were outside again, though far from where they had entered. The desert stretched endlessly under a dark sky filled with stars. The sandstorm raged miles away, covering the place where the gate had once been. Ryan looked back. It's gone again, buried like it never existed. Mara stood quietly, feeling the soft vibration under her feet, the faint heartbeat of the chamber far below. It's not gone, she said. It just started again. Ben adjusted his pack. Then we're the only proof it ever existed. Mara nodded slowly. And we'll make sure the world remembers. They walked toward the horizon, leaving behind the storm, carrying with them the memory of an ancient civilization that refused to die. A message passed from one age to another, from them to humanity. And deep below, the chamber pulsed once more, waiting for the next time it would be found and lost again. The desert above roared with wind, a storm unlike any they had ever seen. Dust and sand twisted in great columns, forming a moving wall that seemed to stretch for miles. Mara, Ben, and Ryan climbed cautiously down the rocky slope, where the maintenance hatch had led them. Their clothes were damp with condensation from the storm's rising humidity, and each breath tasted like dry iron. Tav's voice crackled faintly through the comms. Captain! The storm's expanding faster than expected. You need to get to a safe zone. Mara pressed a gloved hand to the comm. We're moving, Tav. Stay calm. We'll find a way through. Ben glanced at the distant sandstorm. That thing's alive. I swear it moves like it has purpose, Rion shivered. Like the chamber itself is responding. Mara did not answer. She kept her eyes forward, watching the horizon. Somewhere beneath that endless sand, the memory machine they had just escaped was still alive, still pulsing, still waiting. She could feel it. A low hum resonating through the ground like a heartbeat syncing with their own. The hatch led them into a narrow canyon carved from the rock beneath the desert. The storm's wind funneled down the canyon walls, making it nearly impossible to hear. Mara held the team close, moving carefully over the uneven ground. Captain, Ryan said quietly, do you think the chamber knew we would survive? Mara thought about it. It had to. It reacted to us, recognized us. But why let us leave? Ben scoffed. Maybe it didn't care. Maybe it just wanted to record and move on. They walked in silence for several minutes. The canyon walls grew taller, enclosing them in shadow. The storm above created a strange effect. Light and sand were trapped at the top, making the sky glow like fire in the distance. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A deep rumble echoed through the canyon and small rocks fell from the walls. Ryan froze. It's coming from below. Something's moving underground. Mara steadied herself. Could be a quake or the chamber. Reacting again. The vibration grew stronger. Ben grabbed Mara's arm. If it's the chamber, we don't want to be here. But Mara shook her head. We're already too deep. We move forward. They continued along the canyon until they reached a small plateau. From there, They could see part of the storm's edge in the distance. Sand twisted like a river in the wind, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. Waves, columns, and spirals moving in perfect rhythm. Ryan shivered. It's beautiful, and terrifying at the same time. Mara's eyes narrowed. Stay focused. We're not here to admire it. We need to find the next entrance, the way deeper. Ben pointed toward a ridge where the sand appeared darker. Look, something's buried there. Could be metal. Could be a vehicle or debris from the chamber. They approached carefully. The sand shifted underfoot as if warning them away. Mara raised her hand, slowly. Step by step, Ryan bent down and touched the surface. This isn't natural. There's energy under the sand, low and steady. Something is waiting beneath it. Ben's eyes widened. You mean another chamber? Mara shook her head. No, not another chamber, but maybe an access point, a tunnel connected to the one we just escaped. They started digging with whatever tools they carried. The wind above threatened to bury them again, but the canyon provided some shelter. Slowly, a narrow opening appeared, revealing a shaft leading downward. The air was cooler here, and a faint vibration ran through the walls. Ryan leaned into the hole. It's deep, very deep. But the energy, it's familiar. It's the same as before. Mara glanced down. Then that's where we go. We have to see it through. We can't turn back. One by one, they climbed down into the shaft. It was dark, but the walls glowed faintly, almost like veins of light beneath the rock. The vibration grew stronger as they descended. Ben muttered, "Feels like we're walking into the heart of something alive." Mara didn't respond. Her mind was focused, but a strange feeling grew inside her. A mixture of fear, anticipation, and wonder. At the bottom, they found a wide cavern, bigger than any natural cave could be. The walls were smooth, carved in flowing curves. Strange glyphs glowed softly along the edges, and in the center, a circular platform pulsed with light. Ryan stepped closer. It's another part of the memory system, Ben nodded. Or a control station. Look at those symbols. They're the same as before, just more complex. Mara studied the platform. We need to be careful. Whatever this is, it's alive. One wrong move and it could trigger something we can't handle. The platform began to glow brighter as they approached. Light beams shot upward, forming holograms of stars and planets above their heads. This time the images were chaotic. Worlds being created and destroyed in fast motion. The room vibrated with power. Ryan stepped back. Captain, it's preparing for something. Look at the energy levels. Ben tried to tap into the symbols with his portable device. I can't access it. It's rejecting my signals. It doesn't want machines interfering. Mara placed her hand on the platform. The light responded to her touch. The entire chamber pulsed like a heartbeat, faster and stronger. Suddenly a shadow appeared on the far side of the room. A human skeleton, almost completely buried in sand, lay next to a glowing object. A data plate clutched in its bony fingers. Ryan gasped. Someone else was here. They didn't survive. Ben knelt and picked up the data plate. The markings were faint, but Mara could see the last message etched into it. Found it once. Never again. Mara swallowed hard. It confirms the legend. Once this place is found, it disappears. That's why it can never be found twice. The platform pulsed again, and the energy beams formed a shield around them. The vibration grew stronger, the walls trembling like a living creature. Ryan said quietly, "It's preparing to reset itself, just like before." Mara looked at her team. "We have to act fast. If we leave, the knowledge could be lost forever. But if we stay, we could be trapped." Ben nodded. "There's a way. We can copy part of the data directly into our suits. The machine responds to human thought, not technology. We can make it record to us." Mara hesitated, thinking of what they had already experienced. Then she nodded. "Do it. Take what we can. Preserve it." Ben placed his hands on the platform, closing his eyes. Light streamed into him and symbols moved across his visor. Data flowed into his mind like a river, images and knowledge he could barely comprehend. Ryan followed, placing his hands on the edges of the platform. The energy touched his skin, filling him with visions of stars, ancient civilizations, and strange creatures that had shaped worlds. Mara was last. She stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the platform's light. Her mind opened to the chamber's memories, the rise and fall of countless civilizations, alien worlds lost to time, and the secret of humanity's origin. The voice spoke again, deep and calm. The knowledge you carry is sacred. Preserve it. Share it when the time comes. Suddenly the light surged violently. The vibration became shaking tremors, threatening to collapse the chamber. The sandstorm above intensified, making the ground above shiver. Ben shouted, "It's too much." "I can't hold it all." Ryan gritted his teeth. "We need to finish quickly." Mara held her hand steady, absorbing the final wave of energy. She could see the machine preparing for a full reset, a total erasure of everything inside it. She made a decision. "We leave now." The three of them stepped back from the platform, and immediately the beams of light receded. The vibration slowed, then stopped. The chamber dimmed to a soft glow. Ben looked at the data in his mind. We have it. The memory, the knowledge. It's ours to carry," Rian nodded. "But the chamber will reset now. It won't exist the same way if anyone finds it again." Mara took a deep breath. "Then we are the witnesses, the ones who remember." They climbed back through the maintenance shaft, the storm above howling as if furious. When they emerged, the desert stretched endlessly under a sky filled with stars. The sandstorm covered the entrance completely. Ryan stared at the horizon. It's gone. Buried under the storm again. Mara felt the low hum beneath her boots, a faint heartbeat, distant and slow. "It's waiting," she said softly. "Waiting for the next time it will be found. But we've seen enough. We carry what matters now." Ben adjusted his pack, smiling faintly. "And no one else will ever find it. Not like we did." They began the long trek back toward their base, the desert silent around them, the storm fading into the distance. Deep below, the memory machine rested once more. Alive and patient, waiting for another age, another explorer, another chance. And Mara, Ben, and Ryan walked onward, carrying the knowledge of the stars, the secrets of ancient civilizations, and the proof that humanity could inherit the wisdom of the cosmos. The desert stretched endlessly under the calm night sky, but Mara, Ben, and Rian could feel the lingering power of the sandstorm that had swallowed the chamber. The wind had died down, leaving only soft whispers of moving sand. The storm had not ended. It was patient, waiting, and alive, much like the chamber buried beneath the dunes. Mara led the team across the sand, her boots leaving temporary prints that the wind quickly erased. She felt the pulse of the chamber beneath them, faint but steady, like the heartbeat of an ancient giant. Every step reminded her that they carried knowledge far older than humanity. Secrets meant to guide and protect, yet too fragile to be shared recklessly. Ben broke the silence. "You know, I keep expecting the storm to come alive again to swallow us back into that place." Ryan chuckled softly, though uneasily. "I feel the same. The desert feels aware now. It's like it knows we've been to the chamber." Mara didn't respond immediately. Her mind replayed the memory machine's visions. Stars forming and dying, alien civilizations rising and falling, humans standing among galaxies. She had felt the weight of it, the responsibility. "We must be careful," she said finally. "We carry something powerful. Knowledge this old. It can't be treated lightly." The first hint of dawn painted the sky in soft pink and gold. The desert remained quiet, almost reverent. Mara pointed toward a distant ridge. "If we keep moving, we can reach the old supply depot before the storm picks up again." Ben glanced at the horizon. "Looks empty out there." "Are you sure it's safe?" Ryan smiled faintly. Safe is a relative word in a desert that hides chambers older than history. They moved steadily, climbing dunes and navigating rocky patches. Every now and then, the wind whispered over the sand, carrying faint echoes, a rhythm reminiscent of the chamber's heartbeat. Mara shivered. She couldn't explain why, but it felt as if the storm above and the chamber below were connected, two halves of the same consciousness. Ben stopped suddenly. "Captain, look!" He pointed to the ground ahead. There, half buried in sand, was a small relic, a smooth metallic cube engraved with symbols identical to those they had seen in the chamber. Ryan crouched down. "Another piece. Left behind by who?" Mara knelt, brushing the sand away. "This isn't just a relic. It's a message. The builders of the chamber left traces for anyone who survives. A reminder that knowledge must be preserved even if the chamber disappears." Ben touched the cube, and it pulsed softly under his fingers. Feel alive, like it's waiting for something. Mara nodded. It's waiting for someone who understands, someone who will continue the cycle responsibly. They continued toward the supply depot, the sun rising higher and casting long shadows across the dunes. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see, a vast ocean of sand hiding ancient secrets beneath its waves. Mara noticed subtle patterns in the wind-blown sand, small ridges and spirals forming and reforming as if tracing paths through the desert. Ryan noticed too. It's like the storm is marking the desert, guiding us, or warning us. Mara's eyes narrowed. Or both. That's the way of the chamber. It only allows those it chooses to survive. The storm protects it. Ben shook his head. And here I thought deserts were empty. By mid-morning they reached the supply depot, a small structure half buried in sand, forgotten by time. Inside, old rations and tools were scattered, but what caught Mara's attention was a console in the corner. It was intact despite the years in sand. She approached it carefully. The screen flickered to life as she touched it. Lines of symbols moved across the interface in the same language from the chamber, the mirrors, and the floating rings. Ben whispered, "It's like the chamber left a copy here." "A backup," Rian nodded. "Maybe it wanted someone to continue its purpose if it could no longer be found." Mara stared at the symbols, her mind connecting the fragments she had learned. "This isn't just history," she said. "It's guidance. Instructions for humanity, a way to survive and thrive in the galaxy." The console pulsed with light, and a holographic map projected above it. Unlike the previous projections, this one showed the desert in 3 dimensions, hidden tunnels, buried chambers, and lines of energy connecting them. One path glowed more brightly than the others, leading far below toward the heart of the storm. Ryan frowned. "Do you think it's still alive down there?" Mara's jaw tightened. "Yes, and if we want humanity to benefit from it, we have to understand it, even if we can't reach it again." They spent hours studying the console, copying as much knowledge as they could into portable drives in their minds. Every image, every symbol, every flash of light was carefully recorded. The storm outside began to swell again, rising in intensity, echoing the rhythm of the chamber below. Ben finally stepped back, exhausted. "We've taken everything we can. The desert is reclaiming it anyway." Ryan looked outside, the wind howling. "It's true. Look at the storm. The sand has covered most of the paths we followed. Even if someone tried to find it again, they wouldn't." Mara nodded slowly. "That's the point. Some things are not meant to be controlled. Some knowledge is meant to survive only through those who witness it." She turned toward the team. "We carry it now. We are the memory. We are the keepers." The desert's wind surged higher, forming walls of sand that twisted and moved like living beings. The air shimmered, and for a moment Mara thought she saw the outline of the chamber beneath, a ghostly silhouette pulsing beneath the dunes. Ben shivered. "It's like the desert is alive." "Watching us leave," Ryan nodded. "And I think it knows we've learned its lessons." "It's satisfied." Mara took a deep breath. "We leave now, carefully, and we never return." They packed their equipment, leaving only the cube and a few markers as evidence of their journey. The desert winds buried their tracks as they moved toward the distant horizon, ensuring that the chamber remained hidden as it had always intended. As they walked, Mara thought about the stories they would tell, not the full secrets of the chamber, but enough to inspire curiosity, exploration, and respect. Humanity could not yet understand everything they had witnessed, but the knowledge would guide them subtly, shaping their future without revealing its source. Ben spoke quietly. "Do you think anyone will ever find it again?" Mara shook her head. "No, and even if they do, the chamber will test them. Only those who understand its purpose will survive. Everything else is lost to the sandstorm." Rian smiled faintly. "So we're lucky. Chosen in a way." Mara glanced at him, her expression serious. "Not chosen, Ryan, responsible. We carry the memory. We must protect it, guide it, and pass it on carefully." The sun rose fully, turning the desert gold. They paused for a moment on a high dune, looking back at the endless sand. Below, buried and hidden, the chamber rested once more, alive and patient, waiting for the next cycle. The storm above whispered softly, its rhythm echoing the heartbeat of the ancient machine. Mara touched the cube gently. "We have what we need, and now the rest is up to us." Ben adjusted his pack. and humanity will never know the full story. Maybe that's for the best. Rion nodded. Some things are too big to understand all at once, but we'll remember, and that will be enough. They began their final journey across the desert, the storm behind them fading into the distance, leaving the sky clear and the stars shining. Every step they took was a promise. To protect the memory, to respect the chamber, and to honor the civilizations that had come before. Deep below, the chamber pulsed once more, quiet and eternal. It waited as it always had, knowing that one day someone worthy might find it again. And when that time came, the cycle would continue, and humanity would have a chance to rise higher than ever before. Mara, Ben and Ryan walked onward, carrying the knowledge of the stars, the memory of ancient worlds, and the proof that even the most hidden places could shape the destiny of humankind. The desert was silent again, but the storm that never ends remained, eternal and patient, a guardian of secrets buried beneath the sand.